Hello everyone! So this is my second YouTube video. In the first video I had said that I was going to go through all of my animals one by one and just kind of break them down and tell you about care of them and natural habitats and all that fun stuff. So my first video of this series is going to be on Phoenix the Scarlet Macaw, who's in the background. He'd just be way too much of a handful to try and handle while I'm doing this, so he's just gonna stay up there. He's not sure what I'm doing, so he might scream. We'll see. Anyway, as I said, Phoenix is a Scarlet Macaw. His natural habitat in the wild is in Central and South America. So they live between the southeastern Mexico down through the Amazons, Colombia, Bolivia, Venezuela, Brazil, in that area. They like to make their homes in humid habitats, so in rainforests and that kind of stuff. In their natural habitats, they have actually become extinct in some places. Not in all places, but in some. So it's due to habitat destructions, climate changes, and also the parrot trade. So the parrot trade is very high over there, so they will take parrots out of the wild and sell them to unsuspecting people, to unsuspecting breeders, and that's never a good thing because they're wild birds, so they're never very tame or anything like that. So they are actually extinct in some places. Little did I know, I was doing some research for this video and I found out that the Scarlet Macaw is actually a national bird. In Honduras, I think that's how you pronounce the country, the Scarlet Macaw is a national bird, so I did not know that. Honduras is west of Guatemala and southwest of El Salvador, so that's kind of cool that I didn't know. As for their descriptions, you can kind of see them wandering around the cage back there, but they are about 32 inches long, from the tip of the head to the tip of the tail. Over half of that length is the tail. So as you can see it waving around back there, it is a very long tail, so this is why you need a very large cage to accommodate that tail. Their average weight is anywhere from 2 to 4 pounds. Phoenix back here, it runs about 3 pounds. So he's kind of right in the middle of what he should be. There are different types of parrots. There's the large parrots and the small parrots. I'm not too familiar with the small parrots, so I won't really get into those. But in the large parrots, we have the hyacinth, which is the great big blue ones. If you don't know what they are, they're also called gentle giants because they're the most docile of all the large parrots. So we've got the hyacinth, and then underneath the hyacinth we have the green wing, and then the Scarlet Macaw is number 3rd. Now the Scarlet Macaw and the green wing get confused quite often, just because they look the same. Their colors are the same. The only difference is that the Scarlet Macaws have a white patch around their eyes, and the green wings have a white patch but with black strips running through the white. That's the only difference, and that the green wing is just slightly larger than the scarlet. And then underneath the scarlet we've got the blue and gold, and that rounds off the large parrots. And then you can get into all of the smaller parrots like the military, the African gray, and all of them down in the smaller end. They make a variety of noises. He's actually being fairly quiet, so this is entertaining. But they will scream, they will squawk, they will click their tongues, they will grind their beaks, and they do mimic words as well. So he does know a few English words, and he also, funnily enough, knows a few Korean words. I'm learning Korean, and he's just taken to learning that with me. So it's quite entertaining when he starts speaking in Korean. They not only mimic the words, but they also learn where to use them. So they can fit it in. So if you teach them the word food, they easily learn that they say that word and they're going to get food. So they can figure out where to put those words. So it's quite entertaining to train them and to see what they can do. For diets, in captivity, they mostly eat fruits and nuts, some vegetables, and then of course they have their water, but his favorite foods are peanuts. He loves his peanuts, and he loves his grapes. Those are his two favorite things. He gets a whole bunch of other things, but those are his two favorites. But in the wild, they can also eat snails, bugs, some flower petals, and nectar. I've given him honey a couple of times, and he does like honey. So that kind of goes along with the nectar type place there. So it's kind of cool there. They also eat snails and bugs. So they have a wide variety of food that they will eat. They also will eat the sodium-packed earth that is in the Amazons there where they live. So they have a wide variety. For breeding, they're monogamous. So that means that they will take one mate and they will stay with that mate year after year after year, unless one of them dies. Then they will find another mate, but they stick with the same mate. So they become very aggressive when they are breeding. They will chase away any other predators. They will chase away all other macaws that might be in the area just to defend their territory and their mate. So it's actually quite entertaining how they do that, where they're normally quite docile any other time of the year. They lay anywhere from 2 to 3 eggs in a tree captivity, and then the female will incubate the eggs for about 5 weeks. Just a side note here, interestingly enough, you cannot tell males and females apart just by looking at them. So most birds, you can tell them apart. Either the male will be brighter in color than the female, or the female will be a bit larger than the male. But in parrots, they're the same size. They're both bright. You cannot tell them apart. The only ways to tell them apart are when the females lay their eggs, or if you get them DNA tested, which I had him DNA tested when he was young. You can get that done 2 different ways. You can either have a blood DNA test, or you can take a feather and have it DNA tested through the feather. I did blood with him when he was young, and so he came back male, so I know that he's male. So after 5 weeks of incubation with the eggs, the chicks will hatch, and then they will stay in the nest and grow for about 90 days. After 90 days, they will fledge, which means that they will leave the nest, but they do not leave the area. They stay in the area and will even come back to the nest every now and then to rest or to sleep or anything like that. And they stay in the area until they're about a year old. And then when they get to a year old, that's when they take off and they go find their own mates. It is not known whether they come back to their place of birth to mate and have their own young. They've never done extensive research on that, so we don't know whether they come back or whether they just go elsewhere and create their own territory. So that's something that remains a mystery. The juveniles, they don't reach sexual maturity until they are 5 years old. So anywhere below 5 years old, they're still classified as a juvenile, and they don't become adults until 5. In the wild, they will live somewhere between 40 and 50 years. In captivity, if well taken care of, they can live anywhere from 75 to 90 years. So they pretty much double their lifespan in captivity. Just something to keep in mind if you're thinking about getting a macaw, especially a large one. Keep in mind that you're probably going to have to figure out something to do with that bird later on in life, because they're probably going to outlive you. I know he is. He was born in 2012, so he's 7 years old right now, so he's fairly young. He's still got lots of life left in him. So I'm definitely gonna have to find something to do with him later on in life, but that's several years down the road, so I'm not gonna worry about that right now. But yeah, so that's the Scarlet Macaw in a nutshell. He's eating back there in his cage, as you can see. I've got 3 dishes in there for him. The one that he's in right now is the one that I put his nuts in, and then the center one is the one that I put his fruit in, and then the far one is his water dish. So, yeah. If you guys have any questions about Scarlet Macaws or macaws in general that I didn't answer in this video, feel free to comment down below in the YouTube link here, and I'll see what I can do about answering them for you. My next video is probably going to be these guys over here, which are my ringneck turtle doves. And interestingly enough, just a side note, if you're going to get a Scarlet Macaw, make sure you get a cage that they cannot open, because this little stinker here has learnt how to open this cage over here and let my doves out. So his cage has a catch at the bottom of the door and then a catch up at the top of the door that you have to work at the same time to open the door, which he can't, because he can't reach both at the same time. So that's the only way I'm keeping him in this cage. But if he has a clasp over here like this one, which you'll see in the next video, yeah, he can open it and let them out. So you have to watch him. But yeah, just little tricks of the trade of owning a Scarlet Macaw or any macaw, because they are all very, very smart. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you enjoyed it, and that you will subscribe down below if you haven't already and click the notification bell. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter, so I'll leave the links to those in the description box below as well. If you want to follow me, I post shorter videos and pictures of all of my animals on that, so you can follow me there if you want to. And I'll be posting another video about the turtle doves probably in another 2-ish weeks, so keep an eye out for that one. Thank you.